Good morning. You're watching Ask Profit. I'm Smriti Chaudhary and with me is Mathew. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll take all your stock-related questions. You can write to us on the WhatsApp number that's flashing on your screen or through any of our social media channels. We'll also take your queries from the YouTube live chat, so you can write to us there as well. Now let me introduce you to the guests for today. We have Mr. Gaurang Shah of Chaudhary Financial Services and Vaishali Parekh of Prabhudas Leeladhar. Now, Alex, before we get into the questions, why don't you tell us what's happening in the markets right now?
Yeah, and we should also say thank you to both of our guests for joining in. Gaurang, Vaishali, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's quickly take our viewers through where things stand right now. And broadly, the setup was a little bit wobbly based on the global picture, but we are bucking that trend and bucking it by a big margin, right? So you have the benchmark Nifty 50 that's trading with gains of about 0.6%. You have the broader markets that are outperforming. You have the mid-cap 150 index that's up about 1%. And you have the small-cap 250 index that's up just very close to that 0.9% mark or thereabouts. And a few of the sectors really are gaining quite substantially. Among them, the realty index, which is up over 5% at this juncture. And a few of those names, the likes of Brigade Enterprises, the likes of Sobha, something like a DLF is also gaining close to 6%. Overall realty, some of that has to do with the quarterly updates that have come in. And there's also a lot of optimism about the prospects in the sector. Some inkling about the inventory numbers across the system being quite low, in fact, compared to what we've seen in the past. So that's having a bearing on the stocks in trade today. Apart from that, we're also focusing on Bajaj Finance, Smriti, and that's because of the quarterly update. And in fact, that is the stock focus of Ask Profit today. The customer franchise is at 8 crore. It's up 5% sequentially and 22% year on year. The new loans booked are at 98.6 lakh. That's up as much as 26%. And the assets under management, and this is the important thing, has grown 35% year on year and 7% sequentially. So the concerns about growth, perhaps a little overblown. Well, that's what we need to find out from Gaurang. Gaurang, what did you make of the numbers and what's your view on Bajaj Finance?
Thank you, Alex, and morning to all of you all. So firstly, a disclosure, we do have a positive buy call on the fundamental side on Bajaj Finance. And if you recollect, Alex, I think it was about a month and a half or 2 months back, that Bajaj Finance came to the markets to raise funds to the extent of about 8,000 plus crores. And when you have finance companies, NBFCs like Bajaj Finance coming to the market and raising funds, I don't think there has to be any questions in terms of the business outlook going forward from here on. Because had it been not for a positive credit demand in the market, they would not come to the market to raise such a huge amount. And even if you recollect, very recently, Mahindra & Mahindra Finance had given their advances outlook. Some of the banks have come out and given their numbers with respect to advances and deposits and the cost of borrowing, cost of lending. And there also the numbers and the commentary is very, very strong. We remain optimistic on Bajaj Finance from a long-term point of view, and we have a buy recommendation on Bajaj Finance.
Right. Good morning, Vaishali. How does Bajaj Finance look on the charts? The fundamentals do seem really strong, but do tell us about what kind of trajectory do you expect from the stock?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me on the show. So, yes, Bajaj Finance, in fact, luckily we had recommended this on a technical level just 2 days back when it was at 7,300 levels. So at that time, it was in the process of making higher bottom formation, and there was a resistance, near-term resistance coming at 7,550. So today we witnessed a strong opening, and we are sustaining well above that. So, well, from a trading perspective, I would look at a short-term target of 7,800. But if one was to hold this for a longer period, well, we have very high targets of 8,000 plus to start with, and that could go to even 10,000. So I would say now 7150 holds as a very good support. To my view, it would be a buy at every dip for the longer term horizon.
Okay. All right. With that, let's start with our queries. We've got quite a few that are already piling up. But I just want to remind you, you can send a queries to us on any one of our social media platforms, preferably on YouTube and also on the WhatsApp number that should be flashing intermittently on your screen. There it is. We've got the first question coming in from Mohit. Mohit is writing in from Ludhiana and asking about Coal India. which he has bought at levels of 152. In fact, let's pull up the chart. It's trading very significantly higher than that price at 388, and it's up about 0.9% in trade today as well. Gaurang, the latest updates on the volume data for Coal India, it's looking positive. What's your view for a 2-year period, though? This is what our viewer wants to know. Should they hold on?
Well, so firstly, not only the volumes have gone up, Alex, but also the quality of coal has improved to a great extent, thanks to the number of washeries that they have added to their cleaning process of coal. Secondly, after I think a multi-year underperformance, Coal India has managed to come out from its hibernation, if I can use that word, and given this kind of return. The demand outlook looked quite positive. Realizations via e-auctions are also getting in fair rate, and it is one of the largest company in terms of natural reserves of coal. We have a coverage on Coal India from the fundamental side, and I think if this run rate continues, if the quality stays improved, and if the quantity in terms of output of coal garners much more higher trajectory, then definitely the earnings will look much more stronger. So we do have positive call on Coal India from a long-term point of view.
Okay, but it's a buy based on the fundamentals. Any target that you have, Gaurang?
So currently, Alex, we are under the process of witnessing third quarter earnings. The targets that we have set aside on the basis of the earnings that we have seen is very close to where the stock is trading right now. And I'm quite sure on fallback of the improved quality and quantity, the numbers will look quite strong and we will revise the target upwards. So we'll have to wait a while for the Q3 numbers to unfold. But I still remain optimistic about numbers coming in positive and the stock getting re-rated.
Okay, so with that as the context, then Vaishali, would you be able to give us any strategies based on the technicals? If somebody needs to average their buy price and add to their holdings of Coal India, what advice would you give them?
Definitely. So I would say, of course, the trend is very, very strong, but I think the stock can get into a consolidation. So I would say for near-term basis, 375, 380 would act as a very good support. So if this opportunity arises closer to the support level, I would recommend a buy. And I think there would be furthermore conviction once the stock goes above 395 levels. And that would give us the further projected target of 420. I won't be setting higher targets right now because, as I mentioned, on the weekly chart, on the monthly chart, we are in the deep overbought zone. So I would be cautiously positive, but yes, the view still remains very positive.
All right. Next up, we have a question from Akshay. He's writing in from Varanasi. He's talking about two counters here. Now, one is MSPL, and he bought the stock at around 12 rupees, and the stock has doubled from there to 24. It's up about 2% in trade today. And the second one he's talking about is Himadri Specialty Chemicals. That also he has bought at around 300 levels, and the stock is seeing an uptick today and is up about 8% in trade. Now, Gaurang, tell us a little bit about the fundamentals around metals and specialty chemicals, and specifically if you would recommend holding on to these two stocks.
Himadri Chemicals, and which was the other one? Sorry, I couldn't get the name.
Sorry, it's MSPL, MSP Steel and Power.
Okay, so I'll restrict my comments to the outlook on both these sectors since we don't have a coverage. And if you have to go by the recent report that came in, there is much optimism in terms of the consumption of metals going up domestically. News flows from China normally overshadows this particular sector, but over there also I think there is a little bit of respite. Margin pressures because of input cost, which was witnessed in earlier quarters, is now thing of the past. And most probably, most of the metals, ferrous, non-ferrous manufacturing companies are likely to increase their flat and long product prices. So if I have to put all this in perspective, I think this sector should do well. This is also one of the underperforming sectors, but given the demand outlook domestically and pricing power coming back, raw material cost going down, you should have decent set of numbers. In the specialty and agrochemical sector, there are other names other than Himadri Chemicals that we are optimistic on. And here also, I think after 6 to 9 months of consolidation and a sideways performance, the sector is looking quite strong on fallback of couple of triggers. One is, of course, the export possibility on fallback of Europe plus one, China plus one. A lot of investment in R&D that was undertaken a couple of months back has resulted in new products getting launched, and in near future you will see more products getting launched. So I think if you've invested in strong fundamental companies in specialty and agrochemicals, you should continue to hold your investments.
Gaurang, by any chance, do you feel metals is kind of a hedge right now, considering the fluctuation in dollar index, and there is some positivity from within the, internationally and domestically, but do you actually see this materializing for the longer term?
I hope it does tailwind positive because, directly correlating it with the dollar index, to a certain extent, it might work for you if you are taking a short to medium term call, on which I am not quite equipped to give a positive answer on this. But looking at pure fundamentals, I think metals is sector as an overall, wherein of course, as investment ideas, we have Tata Steel, JSW Steel, JSPL, Hindalco, Vedanta as investment ideas. And I'm quite sure on, if infrastructure has to grow, cement and metals have to get consumed, because without these two commodities, you cannot make a durable infrastructure.
Right. Vaishali, I'm going to come to you on these two counters. MSPL bought at 12.4 levels, HSCL, Himadri Specialty Chemicals, bought at 300 levels. Should Akshay continue holding these two counters?
So, well, since it's totally in the overbought, we may see some whipsaws coming in. But when I'm seeing the longer term weekly chart, I think, the stock is ready for higher targets. And I would say keep a stop loss of 20. And from 20, I think if this support is respected, then all likelihood the stock is likely to go towards 30 and higher. So for a longer term period, yes, it is a buy and hold. In fact, buy at every decline, but 20 should be respected as a crucial support level. And as far as Himadri Specialty is concerned, well, we are seeing the stock given a one-way rally. So I would say, well, partial profit booking should not be ruled out. But if the person really wants to hold it, then I think trailing stop loss should be the way to go ahead. 320 should be kept as a trailing stop loss. And if we see a follow-on rally coming in, we would expect a target of 380 to 400 in this stock.
All right. The next question is coming in from Rajesh Maheshwari. He's writing in from Singapore and asking about HUL. And in fact, this is something that he's already bought. He's bought at levels of 2,325 and he's got 60 shares. That's the average holding price. He's got a short to medium term outlook. So I'm first going to go on the fundamentals. Medium term, Gaurang, there were certain question marks about demand, particularly from the rural side, and a little bit of competition coming in from the domestic unlisted players. Is that out of the window based on what you're seeing, the volume picture? And would you hold on to this stock for the medium term at least?
Oh, the competition from the unorganized sector is way out of the window, Alex, to be very honest. And I think people have now started to realize the credibility of brand loyalty and niche and marquee names. Firstly, I would request Mr. Maheshwari that if he has the, legacy, or, if he can extend the time horizon to maybe about 12 to 18 months, only to realize better returns from his investment in HUL, because it's one of the large cap known names in the FMCG universe. Point number one. Point number two, Alex, not to forget, last year, 2023, we had a very erratic monsoon, excess in some parts of India, deficit in some parts of India, and below normal marginally in some parts of India. And historically, India was, is, and will always remain a consumption-driven story. Large part of the volume growth support comes from the semi-urban and rural India, which is directly dependent on agri sector. So a marginal blip cannot be ruled out from a very short-term point of view in terms of volume growth, but I don't think it's anything major or serious. Secondly, input cost has been coming down gradually, even for FMCG sector, whereby net margins are going to get improved and translating into a better profitability. We have targets as of now, whatever earnings we've seen second quarter this financial year, somewhere close to about 2850 to 2900. But I'm quite sure the way consumption is driving the economy and the huge population that depends on it, the numbers are going to improve going forward. So if you have the legacy or liberty to extend your time horizon, I would request you to do that.
All right. On that note, we have to slip into a very quick break. Vaishali, Gaurang, do stay with us. And viewers, please stay with us as well. We'll take more queries on the other side.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. Let's jump right into the questions. This one is from Chandrasekharan. He's talking about PFC, Power Finance Corporation. He's already bought 3,700 shares at a price of 250, at an average price of 250. The stock is currently up in trade about 4%, trading around 408 levels. Now, there's a lot of positivity in the power sector. Gaurang, based on this positivity, and do you also kind of hold this sort of long-term view in the power space? And specifically to this company, there's some news flow around they've signed an MOU with the Gujarat government, and that's probably why there's an uptick in the stock price. What do you suggest doing with the stock in the longer term?
So, we had coverage on PFC some time back, and post that, our targets were in place and we have removed the coverage. Currently, we don't have a coverage, but let me give you a glimpse about three sectors which are interconnected: power generation, power transmission and distribution, and power equipments. And this company, basically Power Finance Corporation, is into financing of power projects. And there is a huge roadmap that the government of India has drawn up as far as new power generating capacities are concerned, especially focusing on solar as well as wind power. You recently saw the performance of IREDA, which is also involved into power project financing, and the performance from the floor price to the price that it went, and currently also it's steady. So our view is that if by the next 5 to 8 years, if there's going to be 400 or 500 gigawatts of new power generating capacities coming up, naturally power project financing companies will also be in focus. So will be power transmission companies like Power Grid, power generation companies like Tata Power or NTPC or CESC, and power equipment manufacturing companies like KEC International being in focus. So we are very optimistic. And I think what turnaround we saw in defense when defense FDI and policy changes were made about 3 or 4 years back, and that translated into the positivities currently as we're witnessing in defense. Our view at Jewett is that power and railway stocks are also going to go through that kind of a transition. So you should get invested in these sectors with strong companies in mind.
Okay, fair point. Let's run through a few quick questions then. We're running out of time. SBI Cards is the next question. We've got this question coming in from, sorry, I lost it. Omkar. Omkar is writing on WhatsApp and he's asking for the next 8 to 10 months. Should you buy Vaishali?
Well, it has been quite a laggard, but well, I would say once it crosses 780 levels decisively, that has been a resistance for quite a while. So once it crosses 780, I would say you may get some good up move coming, going towards 830 to 850. From there on, we can have a relook, but for now, it would be purely a trading strategy.
Right. Next one is from Dilip. He's talking about Sterling and Wilson Renewable. Now, another power question, Gaurang. He's bought at levels of 450. The stock is currently down in trade today, and actually he's in a loss, 444 levels. Would you suggest holding on to this in the medium term?
So again, this is also into solar, and I just mentioned that strong companies do command credible long-term investment horizon. Unfortunately, specific coverage is not there on Sterling and Wilson, but I think this is also one of those companies which will benefit in case of larger contribution from solar power.
Would you suggest it for medium term as well?
Well, so medium term is, I'm a fundamental guy. Very difficult for me to take a short to medium term call. I think Vaishali is more equipped on this.
All right. Vaishali, how does it look on the charts for the medium term?
Yes, I can give my view on this. So it is already in an uptrend. And when I'm seeing the weekly chart, there is a near-term resistance coming at around 455 levels. So having said that, once it crosses 455, it opens room for further high targets. So I would say stay put. In fact, buy at every decline because it is already got into the good trend and the worst seems to be obviously over. It's on a road to recovery. So I think go for it.
Okay, fair point. We've got a question from Bhupesh writing in from Ahmedabad, and he's asking about Satya Industries. He points out he's done a little bit of reading, Gaurang, on this one, and he says that it's a paper production company which has tripled its capacity of paper production. Do you have view on this one?
Oh, Alex, I have not seen this one. Apologies.
Okay, fair point. I'm going to try Vaishali. Vaishali, do you have a view on Satya? Can you tell us anything about the technicals?
Right now it is in the process of making higher bottom formation, and after a long consolidation, it's even got out of it. So I would say take 135 as support levels, and it can retest 150 to 155. There is a hurdle coming at 165 levels. So once the 165 levels are crossed, I think it would go for higher targets. So right now, I would keep it as a purely trading range of 130 as support and 165 as the target risk.
Right. Next up is a question from Amit Rastogi. He's talking about PI Industries. He's bought the stock at 1800 levels. The stock is around 3400, so quite a profit there, Gaurang. What's your long-term view for this one?
So this is also one of the most, stronger players in terms of specialty in agro. It was trading at 3,800, if I'm not mistaken, when the news came out that one of its counterparts in China is also getting into the focus products that PI Industries. Post that, I think we got clarification from the management. We have a buy call on PI Industries. Stay invested. We are returning targets of somewhere close to about 4,000 from a long-term point of view on PI Industries.
Significant upside even from now. The next one is from Kamal Khan, and he's asking about Varun Beverages. He's bought at levels of 800. He's asking whether to book profits. Vaishali, this one's for you.
One more. So, Varun Beverage also, we have witnessed the stock really rallying, but there's no damage to the trend. I would say continue holding because I think there are further price projections coming towards 1,300 and 1,400 levels. So stay put, but keep a trailing stop loss since he's already bought at lower levels. 1,200 should be the stop loss.
All right, Infibeam, coming back to you, Vaishali, on the charts. The question is coming in from Mr. SM Reddy, and he's writing in from Hyderabad. Would you buy for the short term?
So Infibeam, the one which is 23 rupees. Today we are seeing a good spike in volume. Candle also shows. So with today's low, he can be an aggressive trader. Go for a target of around 26.
Okay, fair point. I think we're completely out of time.
Yeah.
We've managed to slip in a couple more, but Vaishali as well as Gaurang, thank you so much for joining in. And a lot of our viewers, unfortunately, we've not been able to get questions answered, but we will be back tomorrow at 11:30, Smriti and I. And so from the entire team that put the show together, thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned. Lots more coming up over the course of the day. And this is NDTV Profit.